hit that like button. Go ahead, do it now before I reach out into that screen and twist your hand like Aunt Esther. Hit the like button. Thank you.
Destroy.
In the morning, you got me up, all cause you need to talk. To 4 in the evening, wanna break up, say that you've had enough. I'm tired of talking, again and again, argue about everything. You are my darling, this kiss and make up, I know you wanna touch. You call me every night, call me every day, I just wanna get you alone now. Trust me when I say, we gon' be okay, we just gotta boom bada boom ba. I don't wanna fight, you know that I'm right. Baby, let me talk to your body. We gon' be okay, hear me when I say.
Pain. I've been there, locked up inside my head, broken from fear, illusions, disappointment, and hopelessness. Who heard me in my silence, where being a man means nothing? Despair. I've been there too, desperately seeking answers for the questions associated with manhood, hills and valleys, too bleak to compare. Stress, suffering in a utility silo, no comfort, no security, no freedom, no justice, just do it for others. Challenges, who will help me break the challenges? Lost in the vortex of darkness, hopelessness, fear, and abandonment. I've been there too. I've been there too. Take the next step to your destiny. Join me in this fight. Walk forward. Deep breaths. Head held high, men. Come join me, men, in the winds of time. Stories, hopes, visions, purified in the fire. I'm not a superhero, and I'm not the Reverend Knight. I'm here to help you. Join me, men, in this fight. Break the chains of your mind. Let's do it now. For now is all we have. Fire for your mind. The kosher clinician.
We're about to get into it on the night, guys. We have Dre with Love Crossing Borders in the house. And we're going to talk about a condition, something that many men that are in the business of world travel is doing. They're messing up the ecosystem. In the clinical world, we talk about something called a homeostasis. A homeostasis simply means where there's balance. But because so many men are victims of chicanery, they're traveling abroad with the imprint of Americanized indoctrination into their psyche or embedded in their psyche. And when they go to countries like Colombia, Brazil, DR, whatever, they overcompensate because they have over-identified in America instead of them standing in power. So Dre, an expat that's married to a beautiful Colombian woman, we're going to be talking about why it's important that men get over she covering. As a clinical therapist, I tell clients that they have to uncover so that they can recover. But you can't uncover and recover if you're dealing with the veneer of she covering. So guys, without further ado, my man Dre's in the house, and we're going to kill the game on the night because me and Dre always kill the stream. Me and Dre always kill the stream. That's Morpheus. And so Dre's going to be interviewing me, because, Dre is an expat. He is in Colombia. He has a beautiful Colombiana wife. And Dre's going to be asking me questions from a clinical perspective, but also we're going to piggyback on one another on why, to the men that are American, that are looking for foreign wives, it's important that you're not googly-eyed and that you're not over-identifying with women in general, messing up ecosystems that can not only be deleterious to them, but also deleterious to yourself. So Dre, tell the audience who you are, man. We've done a lot of shows together, brother, but I want you to reintroduce yourself and why this conversation is so important in your opinion.
Oh, as many of you already know, my name is Andre of Love Crossing Borders, Mostly Money TV, Andrea Wallace TV, and our new channel, which is Travel Unravel. We assist individuals when it comes to finding love across borders or just falling in love with the borders that you cross. So I'm excited to be on this particular live stream with Culture because we always have a great time as well as giving out great information. So guys, be ready with pen in hand, and if it's Friday night, have a drink in your hand because we're going to be making sure that you guys have the proper mindset. And this is what this is all about. Right. Having the proper mindset. Right. Once you travel, once you get off that plane, no matter where it is, Thailand, Colombia, Brazil, no matter where you're going, you have to have your mindset right, or two things are going to happen. You're either going to mess up the ecosystem of what's going on when it comes to dating and relationships in that new location in that country, or you're going to mess up the ecosystem of your life because you're going to come back to the United States or whatever country you're from, broken and broke. So we're going to hear from the expert clinician here today.
No doubt.
Got some great questions for him.
No doubt.
Some of the first questions, one of the first things that came to mind for me in regards to she covering or recovering from what has been placed up on a lot of men or taught a lot of men in the United States, especially or in the Western world. What are some of the signs or symptoms that a guy can look for within himself before he gets on that plane? What are some of the things that he can say, you know what, if I go over to this other country, I might make some mistakes. So what are some of the signs of mistakes that they're currently making that they can make sure that they don't make those same mistakes when it comes to women in other countries?
Well, Dre, I think your question is very poignant and straight to the point. In the clinical world, we talk about a concept of thinking error called overcompensation. And so here in America, Dre, men tend to overcompensate because here in America, they're not honored. They're not aggrandized in the proper manner. They need to be aggrandized. And because of that, they overcompensate. So they overcompensate because they feel like that they have to do the same things that they did here to get a woman, and they go abroad and do the same thing, which in essence make them not being ready to stand in power. Dre, I've said before several times in the past that she only respects power and strength. The gospel said that she would have a desire for her husband, but he would rule over her. It's in the psyche part of what theologians call original sin, that many women want power in the relationship. And it's part of the fallen nature of men and women. We all have fallen natures. So it's in her nature to have power. And sometimes she's exhibiting that power from an unconscious perspective. But you got to be calibrated, men, and I'm speaking this to you passionately because what me and Dre are doing, we're doing this for expats that are planning to get wives in the future. You guys have more or less said over and over again that you're tired of the American scene. Modern women in the West do not exemplify feminine demure or beauty or cooperation. And so I want to get you guys ready because, I've always heard the saying that an ounce of prevention is better than a pound of cure. And so I want to get you guys ready so that you can uncover, then you can recover so that you don't be a victim of she coverage. So back to the point, once again, Dre, they overcompensate. And so once again, when they go abroad, they think it's incumbent upon them to relinquish or give or render to that woman the same thing that they did to many women here in America, which in essence will put them in a state of not being in power, but being drained socially and financially.
It's amazing that you would use the term overcompensate, because being here in all the other countries that I've gone to,
Right.
you're
Right.
absolutely correct, because we had to have that peacock mentality
Right.
in the United States. And for those that don't know, only the male peacock has the blooming feathers. The guys think, a lot of people think that it's the female that has those blooming feathers trying to attract the male.
Right.
Actually, it's the opposite. The peacock actually is the male that's overcompensating, trying to get the attention of the females. The female peacock does not have all those flowers. It doesn't have the crown, doesn't have any of those things in which the males use to kind of attract the women. A lot of times dudes use that same male peacock mindset and overcompensate. And so what ends up happening is, since you had to get spinning rims when you were in the 90s and early 2000s to attract women, even though you never saw those spinning rims because you were driving the car, you
Right.
had to wear flamboyant colors, so you'd start buying Versace shirts and so forth, because even though they were ugly as can be, they stood out to women. You started wearing certain apparel and having a certain mindset, and now it's a habit. And we all know that we're all children of habit. So what I'm noticing over here, culture, is that they don't have their car here.
Right.
Okay. They might bring a few Versace shirts or bright shirts over here, but most people don't wear those.
Right.
But what the problem that I am seeing over here of overcompensation, they're still taking money and trying to make it rain. They're still overpaying for a good evening with the woman, instead of just paying what the bill is or what the check is. Because they have that US dollar, they continue to overcompensate. Why do you
Yes.
think a lot of men just don't want to admit to themselves that before I get on that plane, I need to unlearn or go, not put myself, I have to have a moment of recovery.
Yes,
In
sir.
other words, recover from what I thought that she or the women in life wanted, and
Right.
no longer be a part of that overcompensating. One of the biggest problems, I'm going to go back to this question. Why
Yes,
do
sir.
you think men find it so hard to not overcompensate?
I think some of it's embedded, Dre. Why do American men find it so hard not to overcompensate? Some of it is embedded in negative socialization. In the clinical world, we talk about something called nature versus nurture, right? And so nature is what you it's what you are born with. It's called the intrinsicity of a human being. We call it intrinsic motivation. But nurture is the socialization. So I think we have been negatively conditioned, but also negatively socialized to the point that it would be an affront to our ego to look ourselves in the mirror and say that I don't have to do that. Now remember, the masculine Dre is doing, right? But the feminine is being. So it's in our psyche to do. It's in our nature to do. And so it's counterintuitive to the psyche of the masculine to not think that I don't have to do. So we try to overfix it instead of letting it fix itself. Does that make sense?
Absolutely correct.
Right.
Absolutely correct. And I like how you said it's just our ego
Right.
tells us that part of us that says, you can't tell me anything, you can't teach me anything, you can't show me
Right.
anything. And
Right.
so I know this. So when I get off the plane, I'll do what I want to do. You can't be an example of how to do it positively. I do it my own way with my own positivity. And I understand that. And Kosher and I agree. Enjoy your vacations or your trip, or if you're going to relocate to another country, enjoy it your way. That's why you
Right.
decided to leave the West, because
Right.
your life has been full of dictations, whether you were dictated on the job, whether your wife or girlfriend at home is trying to dictate you, whether it was in college or school, or whether it's the police department trying to dictate the direction of your life in little minute ways. We understand you don't need anybody else dictating you, especially when you're out there spending your own money, having a good time. But there is a wise way of doing this, because if
Right.
you do not walk in recovery, which
Yes.
means to recover from having to overcompensate,
Yes.
realize, guys, overcompensation in many parts of the world can be dangerous.
Yes.
There are
Right.
situations in which many men have not made it back home safely,
Yes.
or actually didn't make it back home because they were overcompensating. They were trying too hard. Instead of just having one date, I want to have 3 dates this evening. Instead of just being with one woman, I want to be with 3 women or 2 women. Like we said, do what you want to do, but realize that when you come to other countries, there is a danger in overcompensating. And that's what we're talking about this topic today in regards to not getting caught up in what you were caught up in the United States. Do you agree, Coach, that there is a danger in overcompensating?
Yes, I do agree. I do agree, and that's why I think it's important for you and I to have these conversations. I think it's important for them to check with you before they go, if they decide to go to Colombia, to check with you for a consultation, but also to check with me as well. I count an honor and a privilege, Dre, to serve and to impart knowledge and to young men and older men. This is something that I didn't have, but I think I've been commissioned by God to. For my time I'm left on this earth to empower men, to help them stand in power. Because see, watch this, Drake, the churches are not doing it. The communities are not doing it because, see, Michael Jackson said it better than me. He said that they don't really care about us. That's what Michael said, and I think it's true. They don't really care about what men want or what men desire. You know, when you hear people, even though they say they did it in jest, and I think it was innocent, but when they say steal their asses back, it basically means that we don't have any inherent worth or value. You know, instead of saying steal their asses back, I would say men. Meet endless needs and demands. That's what you need to do if you want men to come back. Meet endless needs and demands. Because see, as I said earlier, you know, she only respects power and strength. And Frederick Douglass said it better than me, Dre. He said the power never conceded to anything without a struggle. It never have, Absolutely. And it never will. It never will, Dre, because it's about power. And see, once people understand that this thing is about power, it's also spiritual, Dre, they will no longer continue to be a saboteur to their own ignorance. And so these shows are meant to cultivate, to empower. Because, Dre, let's think about it. We talk about women's empowerment. We talk about black girl rock and girl magic and girl power, whatever. But when do we say black boys rise? You know, when do we tell our young men and boys to adjust their crowns? We don't. Because, see, the modern woman see black men as a lick. You know, they see them as a lick. And as part of that, it's a come up, right. And so when you think about a predatory animal, a lion, when it catches its prey, Dre, it pounces on them, and once they get them by the neck, it begins to lick them because it's predatory. And see, I talked about a concept, Dre. I'm going to do a show soon. One show is called Kosher Hypergamy versus Carnal Hypergamy. Kosher hypergamy is fit and proper. It's not exploitative. It's nothing wrong with a woman practicing kosher hypergamy because it's in her nature to find a man to, you know, progenate her seed. Right. To give her the best thing she needs to do to make sure her offspring is taken care of. It's nothing wrong with kosher hypergamy because it does not seek to exploit. Kosher hypergamy is predicated on ethics and values and morals. But see, carnal hypergamy makes a man become a lick. You know, because it's exploitative. I will drug him. I will get his resources. I will lie to him. I'll wear and use fake up and BBLs to get him in a relationship only to pull the mask off. And see, Dre, you know what I'm talking about. You know, many times when men get in relationships, many times, Dre, it looks just like this.
Yeah, it does. Sadly, in the West, it really does. We've all been there at one point in time or another.
Oh yeah, Dre. They can't hide it long, so they get that schema affliction. Because see, that schema affliction is similar to what Smeagol had. Smeagol wanted power. The schema was, you're not going to get my precious. Well, what women say, Dre, once they get married, they say you're not going to get cooperation. That was just a veneer, you know, they were just faking the funk. They get into the relationship, you know, they were kind, they were giving you dome, they were topping you off, they were, you know, cooking and all that goofy stuff. But once you say, I do, now she got you by the nutsack. And you can't do anything about it because now you got to risk everything you work so hard for. And so Dre, I want to see men, but what Dre is doing.
Looks like you froze there for a minute, Kosher.
they have impacted you so much in the past. Dre, hold tight and with your questions. Hold tight. I need to get something real quick, Dre. Let me make sure this thing is on point. Hold tight, Dre. I'm gonna start.
Okay, yeah, okay.
Because I think my cameras keep. Give me 1 minute, Dre. I'm gonna drop you down for 1 minute. Give me 1 minute. Give me 1 minute. Make sure. Give me 1 minute. Let me see. Let me see where we are. Okay, hold tight.
Got an itch in my palm. My girl, she know she the one. I put the ice on her hand. I put some ice on her arm. See me shining in the light. Know you found me in the dark. Talking how you wanna leave. Girl, you made this far. Taking trips overseas. No, I won't be long. We came up from the weeds. Now it's top floor. All these big yes on her wrist. VVS is on her neck. Make it spinning, I don't stress. When I make it stretch. Double back to back then. Down broke, now we rich. Spend it on her, let her spin. Down with me to the end. That my best friend. That my best friend. That my best friend. I'ma spend it on her, cause she all mine. Spend it on a challenge, cause she all mine. There for my first cake, then we hit 100K. $500,000 on the way, then $1 million on the way. Eating good, full plates, eating good, say grace. Eat her up, get thanks. She got cake birthday. I can't waste no way, I can't waste no play. Okay. My girl, whoa, whoa, something like the baddest chick. My girl, whoa, whoa, came up from the rags to rich.
All right, I'm back, Dre. Give me 1 minute. All right, so keep asking the question, Dre. I'm just getting this camera ready. My stream dropped. But reiterate the question again. I apologize.
Okay, basically, now that we've discussed what the sheet covery is, the fact that it is based off of overcompensating that we do in the state, especially in the states, especially in the Black community, because we feel that we are limited in many other areas. Flossing or flaunting is one of the few areas that, especially materialistically, is one of the few areas that we feel like that we're in control of. I can floss with the best of it. I can best of them. I can flaunt with the best of them. But at the end of the day, that flossing and flaunting doesn't translate to other countries. In other words, that the egocentric system in which we've been programmed to believe in, that doesn't work overseas. In most countries, it really doesn't. So now that we've talked about that the problem exists, that it needs to be worked on before a person actually goes overseas, let's talk about at least 3 things that they can do to start the recovery process, or in other words, become better men before they go on their trips overseas. Because as we mentioned before, being egotistic or overcompensating can be extremely dangerous in other countries.
I totally agree. I agree with you 1,000,000%. And one of the things, you and I had a conversation, Dre, in the past, and you were excoriating the guys, but not in a bad way. You was doing it out of love. But we talk about the 5 stages of change, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But I want to ask you something as we have this more poignant conversation. What deficits did you have to deal with as a man? What recovery processes that you have to deal with regarding sheet recovery before you got on that plane and went to Brazil? Colombia. And I want you to help the men about giving them some practical things that you did as a man to mitigate some of the thinking errors that you had before you got your beautiful wife.
For me, one of the first things I did was I actually went on monk mode. And what monk mode basically is that you save your finances, your fun, and your frolicking with the ladies for your time overseas. And while you're in the States, you treat the United States for what it is. It is not a country. It is a corporation. I'll repeat that. The United States is not a country, never has been a country, always was established to be a money-making corporation from the time when London ran it, and then the revolution took place, all the way until now. It has always been based upon the corporate or the corporate structure of somebody making money. There's nothing wrong with that. Let it be what it actually is. So one of the things I learned, let the United States be what it is in my life. let me go ahead and stack this money. B, the second thing I learned is not wasting my time. The 3 elements of life for a man is your money, your time, your energy. The 3 elements of life for a man. So I knew that treat United States for what it was, a corporation, and make my money, stack my money, invest my money. Number 2, with my time, I stopped wasting my time, whether it was with arguments with women, trying to impress women, trying to overcompensate to get a woman. Whatever it took, when you're going on monk mode, you sit back and say, hey, there are things about me I need to work on. I don't have time to overcompensate for somebody, time to be the sexual prowess for somebody. I just don't have time for it. So I started going to counseling with the time I would have wasted on, just using sex as a therapeutic tool. I start actually going to therapy. Let me find out what's going on with Andre, get this taken care of.
Right. That's a good job. Excellent job.
You see what I'm saying? So so when we say reach out to Culture Clinician, we aren't just saying it flippantly. This man is actually this is what he does. This is what he's going to school for. So make sure you reach out to him, because that's what I did. I reached out to somebody that could help me get Andre on track. There was nothing wrong with me financially. Had the big house and the big truck and a nice convertible in the driveway. In the state of Florida, I'm living the beach life. So on the outside, nothing was going wrong. But I knew that certain habits that I had could not translate to another country. Just like we say, when you go to another country and you have to have a translator, because that language the language of English does not translate to every country. So it is with our behavior. Our behavior in the United States and how we act as men, you could get away with the United States to a certain extent. But I knew I couldn't get away with it in other countries. It just didn't translate in a safe way, or in a supportive or a way that would benefit me in the long run. Overcompensating for me in Colombia only attracts the wrong people into my life. It's easy to do it in the States because everybody got a little something they flossing about. But you can't come to another country and floss, because you'll draw the attention of the wrong people in many countries. So I realized that I had to change it. So I had to change how I looked at my money and treated my money. I had to make sure that I changed how I used my time. The 3rd element of every man is his energy. I had to make sure that my energy was on point. I couldn't be Andre from the east side of Detroit, not smiling, sitting back as a wallflower. I'm all thugged out. I was just doing a consultation with a guy today, Kosha, and the brother he's actually down here in Cali, Colombia. And he said, I'm having problems, Dre, when it comes to the ladies. I say, what is it? He said, the young lady I met, we're getting along, everything is fine. He said, I got one problem. I'm in Cali, Colombia, and I don't know how to move my hips. I say, yeah. I say, salsa music is a hip moving dance. I said, in the States, we are programmed to move our feet or move our upper bodies as men. But we aren't programmed to use our hips and sway and twist and spin. I said, so it is when it comes to our energy. Our energy has to change to sway with the global mindset that's out there, and not just having everybody being able to be understanding how we are as Americans. So realize that's one of the things that I had to understand. I had to use my energy to be able to accept whatever culture or mindset that they had in these new countries, and not to come down here and hit the gavel and say, but in America we do it like this, and in America we do it like that. I couldn't come down here with that energy. So because I didn't come down here with that energy, once again, all 3 elements of being a man: your money, your time, your energy. What I ended up doing is I had a better time, because I knew to allow my energy to combine with the energies of the countries that I was going to. So those are the ways that I made it a lot better for me to actually not only visit places, but also relocate.
Did Dre deal with sheet covering? And if so, I want you to tell the audience how or what sheet cover issues you had. But also, Dre, if you don't mind sharing, if it's not too personal, and you don't have to share if it's too personal, what did you learn about yourself when you were in therapy that you were dealing with? And I got an idea of what it is, but I'm gonna let you tell
I
us.
learned in therapy that through my family's lineage, we have addictive behavior disorder. We
Okay.
have so many people in my family that are alcoholics, that are drug addicted. You name it, my family's probably done it before. Now, fortunately, I was not addicted to drugs, but I was addicted to sex with so many different women. And to some men, they're like, "Oh man, that's cool. That's not an addiction." No, it sounds good until it starts to become problematic with the three elements of a man. It was interrupting how my energy was within myself. It was interrupting my time because I'm spending so much time with the ladies. I'm not spending time with myself creating. I'm going to say that again. You can spend so much time smashing gorgeous, beautiful, successful women that you fail to be as successful as you need to be, even if you're already a success. See, I was a success on the outside in the eyes of many. I live in the suburbs of Tampa. I got the big truck, big house, big car. I got the ladies. I got all the external things that most black men would actually want or desire to have.
Okay.
But the problem was I didn't have discipline when it came to the ladies. And I'm wondering, like, why is my time, my money, and my energy being used in a way that it is not benefiting me in the long run, in the bigger picture? I was thinking micro when it came to the ladies. Let me get her, them. And so I went to counseling and found out that addictive behavior disorder doesn't necessarily mean that you have to go to drugs or you don't have to go to alcohol. You and your family are workaholics. Like, for example, this is why I have 4 or 5 YouTube channels where most people only have one. That's that addictive behavior disorder. So these are some of the things that I realized that were in me. But here's the kicker, culture. Once I found out about that, it gave me the power. That knowledge gave me the power that once I got off the plane in Colombia and I started getting in a serious relationship, I realized that I cannot go out and, like some guys, be with one woman. I got my side chick. No. Andre can't do that. Because Andre, with this addictive behavior disorder, will have side chicks, a side harem to that side harem. I don't have, here's the kicker. It sounds good, once again, to the eyes of many men. You got your main wife and you got your ladies. What's wrong with that, Dre? Once again, I'm wasting the 3. How am I using the 3 elements of manhood?
Yes, sir.
3 elements of manhood: money, energy, and time. And you can throw power off in there, but you can acquire power by either one of these elements. So what am I doing with those 3 elements? If I come down here to Colombia, I'm doing here we go, culture. I'm doing the exact same thing to overcompensate like I was doing in the States. Now we're going back to the she covery. So that's why I'm so at peace right now, because I went to and got help. I went and by finding out what was going on with me, and now number 2, not denying that tendency is still in me and in my family, and now realizing when that thing wants to rear its ugly head and distract me from using my 3 elements wisely, I know what to do. But not that many men know how to do that, and that's why a lot of men end up falling on their faces as soon as they step on the steps of the plane. They just go tumbling down the plane steps and fall right on their faces in the new country, and they never get back up.
Well, I was going to ask you how that your sexual addiction sabotaged you. I guess you explained it. I think you explained how it sabotaged you with those 3 elements. Was there a reconditioning for Dre the first couple of weeks in Colombia? What was your reconditioning? I know part of it was, getting rid, not focus on women so much, but what other areas that you had to work on with reconditioning? Yes, sir.
Yeah, the other reconditioning I had is I was American in other countries. Just like we were saying before, Americans are known for overcompensating. We're the peacocks. That's how we are. And so I had to realize that coming to for example, any parts of South America, a man can get the same type of woman that I have or had with a polo shirt, a button down, or a t-shirt. I didn't have to have the Versace fly, look at me, notice me shirt in order to get a woman. I see guys all the time with gorgeous women, guys that are down here that are worth millions in a nice, decent button-down shirt,
Right.
in a nice, clean, well-ironed, well-pressed polo shirt. I see them in the mall with their wives and kids. The wife looks like she's a supermodel. The kids look happy. And the guy is walking in his t-shirt and a pair of jeans on Saturday afternoon.
Right.
So I realized that in order to get what you want, as far as even the ladies are concerned, since we're just using them as a catalyst for this conversation, even the ladies show you here in other countries, you do not have to compensate. And when you do overcompensate, since I didn't have to do that once I got down here, I didn't have to stand out looking like a target for something to happen, or I didn't have to stand out looking like an idiot and women not being attracted to me. Some guys come down here and they want to put on a gold chain, the big old gold. I wear gold in the United States, for example, culture. I wear gold in the United States. That's what I do. My gold rings. You can't tell me nothing. A, is unnecessary down here to get the same quality of woman. B, now you're a target. C, the real quality women won't walk with you. I repeat that. You the dude with the gold chains on, real quality of women are going to walk even next to you, because they realize that if they're coming for you and I'm standing next to you, they're coming for me too. So the good women, the party girls gonna be with you, but the good women that you really deserve to have, who you deserve to have, they will not be bothered with you. They look at you and look your way, but they'll walk the other way, because if the guys are coming to get you, the women know if she's standing next to you, she's gonna get got too. And it's those little things, culture, that I had to realize that I had to leave in customs. I had to leave at TSA in the United States. I couldn't bring that mindset and that mentality over, that American mindset. So that had to be left over. Also, the addictive behavior disorder, even though it's here, I didn't let it be prevalent or control me. Now it's just, like I said, I just use it as being a workaholic now. And then Andrea always had to shut me down and said, "Baby, come to bed," or
come to bed.
Baby,
Right.
You know, let's go to the gym, or let's do. If it wasn't for my wife, I would addictively stay in this chair at least 12 hours a day. But she often saves me from my addictive behavior when it comes to the business side of YouTube. Just the little things. Let's go eat here. Let's go do this. Let's go do that. So that's what helped me out.
Well, he's telling the truth, guys. He's telling the truth. Because I thought Dre was the vice president, man. I thought I had to call security because I would call him and text him, and I finally got him today, man. So we're doing this show because I want to see you guys win. You know, Dre, we're gonna get deep into it, man. We're gonna definitely get deep into it. I know you got to go at some point, so I want to be respectful of your time.
Take your time.
But this show is important, Dre, because she recovery is an issue that many men deal with. She recovery, some of it is due to how they were nurtured from their mothers. But she recovery also, Dre, is due to the negative imprint or the negative impartation that they got from that first girl that rejected them in high school. And they still haven't got over it, you know. They because see, the imprint of a man is through his mind, right? But the imprint of a woman is through her womb. And so men are still, or have still been imprinted. And some might say, "Oh, this get over." Well, it's not that simple. The mind doesn't work that way. Ideally, you should do it, and from a pragmatic perspective, you should just get over it. But the thing, one of the things I said, Dre, that there are 7 steps that a man must go through in order to become optimized. And world travel is one of those things that can more or less break that schema that you're dealing with, Dre, that they're dealing with, but also the illusion of thinking that American women are the only thing that they can have. We're going to look at things straight from what I call class stratification. We're going to break it down. So we're going to start first with the average guy, because in America, many times the average guy is a pariah, the blue-collar guy is a pariah, the educated guy sometimes is a lame. So really, it's the educated thug that gets all the love and the respect a lot of times with some of our women, not always. But what does a good Colombian woman look like, and what can an average man get in Cali, Colombia, if he's looking for a wife? And then we're going to go average. We're going to go average to blue collar to professional from those 3 levels, okay?
Cool. Now let's not even look at it from the perspective of that you have to be materialistically successful. Let's just talk about just your average dude. You're getting off the plane in Colombia or in Brazil or in Argentina or Chile, whatever it may be, whatever part of South America it may be, and you are looking for somebody to enjoy your time with, somebody positive. Not, we know the party girls. Let's get that out of the way. The party girls are the easiest target. That's low hanging fruit. So we know that they're there. But we're talking about quality women. That's what Culture and I talk about whenever we get together. We talk about you guys meeting and hanging out with and enjoying your time with quality women. Number two, let's not even talk about the marriage perspective. We're going to put that on the back burner for a second. We're just talking about you meeting a quality person that if you come to Colombia or whatever part of South America and you want to meet that person time and time again or hang out with that person time and time again, what qualities should you look for? Number one, she doesn't have all the time to be with you. I know you guys actually think that the best woman that you could have is a woman that has all the time to be with you on your 5-day trip. If a woman has 5 days to do nothing but to be with you, she is not a quality woman in by definition in any country. No Colombian man will sit back and say, I want a woman that does nothing, has nothing going on for 5 straight days. Then why would you get off the plane and expect to be with a quality woman? We're not talking about the party girls, a quality woman for 5 straight days. So if this woman says, I enjoy my time with you when we were hanging out yesterday, but I have 2 days I've got to go to work, but I will see you this weekend. That's the woman that you want. I don't care if you got 3 of them like that, 5 of them like that, you're juggling your time with. At least do not have 1 or 2 that have nothing to do with themselves or no responsibilities. We often said the idle mind is the devil's workshop, and so it is in South America. If it's a woman that has nothing to do, then she's actually plotting and planning, and you might be the next person that she's plotting and planning on. Number 2, when it comes to a quality woman with quality time, her social media. If her social media showcases that she got her butt stuck out every time you looked at her, if that's what attracted you to her initially, when you saw her on TikTok and you saw her on Tinder and you swipe right and you say, goodness gracious, blah, 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 and all her pictures are seductive or are alluring. Remember the old statement, welcome to my web, said the spider to the fly. If she's luring you in with that beauty, and you see nothing that's quality, you don't see her at a birthday party with the family in one of those photos. If you don't see her hiking all this beautiful countryside, she doesn't have one picture of her just hiking with her friends or going out dancing with her. None of those. It's all booty bait photos. She is not quality. Once again, she could be in the fun girl category, and you know what you're going to get from a fun girl. But we're trying to introduce you to quality women. So number 1 is, does she have time for you? If she has 100% time and she's just completely open, you don't want her. Number 2, look at her social media. If what's attracting you to her is the booty bait and the curves and everything, and that's it, then she's not going to be a quality woman. Number 3, numero 3, the family. Who her people is. This is the one that you want to hang out with and want to be with for months. So you're going to eventually find out, I know South America, you're going to meet the family fast. This ain't like the state. So what ends up happening, if you find out that mom don't own nothing, dad don't own nothing, mom ain't got no job, dad ain't got no job, uncle all in jail, everybody on party mode all the time. Even if she's a quality person, she still has the qualities of her family. So if the family's not right, the family, who her people is, in other words, like they used to say in the South,
who her people is,
eventually she's going to showcase she's not right. I don't care how nice and sweet she is in the beginning. So those are at least 3. Now there's more, but we're going to just keep it at 3. Those are the 3 things that you should be looking out for in a quality woman. The beauty in South America is a given. So let's not even talk about beauty. And if you want a party girl, then we understand you guys. Go for your party girls. But if you're looking for something of substance and of quality, and I'll give you a bonus, Culture. If For a quality woman in this tradition in South America, tradition, except for certain parts. Let's just put Colombia tradition.
Mhm.
If she's a good girl, even if she just wants you so bad, y'all had such a great time today hanging out, she still would not have sex with you on the first day.
Mhm.
Good women know what bad women do.
Mhm.
And so to stand out from the flock, one of the things that traditionally, guys, remember, we're not talking about America, we're talking about South America.
Mhm.
Traditionally, good women in Colombia don't do, you ain't gonna get it the first night. You might get it night 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 10, 12, but you ain't gonna get it the first night because
Right.
she knows that when it comes to how men perceive women,
Right.
we define them by their sexual prowess.
Yes, sir. Right.
And they know that even if I want you the first night, a quality woman is not going to give it to you the first night,
Right.
because she knows with the women that gave it up the first night, what category they fell into, and they never made it out of that purgatory.
Right. And rightfully so, because that's how it was when, let's be real, when we were growing up, man. Women they gave their body away quickly and freely. They didn't get no respect from men. But,
No,
guys
not
might
one.
play
I
with
can't
you.
remember one.
Right. Yeah, they'll play with you, but they ain't gonna take you serious with no woman or wife. Now, some would say, well, if you know a woman and y'all are grown, and I've heard stories of people they had one night stands and they end up getting married. But
when we talking anomalies, we go ahead and talk about unicorns. We can always talk about four-leaf clovers,
right.
and pots at the end of a rainbow. And we're going to talk about anomalies.
Right. So let me ask you a question. So can a working class guy, this average working class, so we can go from working class to high earning blue collar, and then professional men. What can the average working class man get in Colombia, and how should he move?
Rules apply for all three, and I'll tell you
all
why.
three. Okay.
Because once you get off the plane, they don't know that you're a blue collar or a white collar. They don't know how much money you have compared to. See, you can be a guy in the United States that's a multi-millionaire.
Mm-hmm.
It will show, but you can't bring your car on the plane with you. You see what I'm saying? That Tesla, the best thereof, you can't bring that on the plane to show to the ladies.
Mm-hmm.
Most guys, even the ballers, don't come to South America and even rent a vehicle. So at the end of the day, what they end up having, maybe a driver that they or Uber driver that they paid to drive them around for the day, or maybe they might do. I haven't seen too many limousines running around South America.
Mm-hmm.
My point in saying that is, it's somewhat of an even playing field.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's getting off the plane. Most of us polo, t-shirts, button down. So it's an even playing field.
Mm-hmm.
So for the most part, if you flaunt or overcompensate in South America, it's because you wanted to do it, because society told you don't need to do it.
Mm-hmm.
You see where I'm going with that culture?
Mm-hmm.
The blue collar guy looks just equivalent to the white collar guy that looks equivalent to the guy that doesn't have much. He just saved and scraped a few dollars and came to South America.
Mm-hmm.
Because polos, t-shirts, and button downs, just about every man has it. It's now it's up to your personality.
Mm-hmm.
It's up to who you are as a person to attract the women. If you're a person that's got that outgoing personality, you like to have fun, and you're animated like I am, you attract women that are interested in animated men. But there are women that are interested in aloof men that are kind of somewhat quiet and aloof. And she's the animated one. Opposites attract often.
Mm-hmm.
She's the animated one, but you might be the laid back, suave brother. And so at the end of the day, you'll attract a different group of women. But as I always say, we want to make sure that we attract quality women. That's what you want to have. Quality women. It's easy. Like I always give the analogy, and I use this metaphor quite often. Coming to South America is like going to the most beautiful apple orchard in the world. It has in that orchard every apple you could imagine. The golden apple, the Michigan apple, the Washington State apple. It's got all these the green apples, beautiful apples all around. You can't miss the beauty of these apples on these trees, and they're absolutely free. And so many men get off the plane culture and they go straight to the ground.
Great to the ground,
And
right?
they pick a rotten apple because it looked beautiful on one side. They turn it around and it's full of ants and worms, and they still bite down and chew. Finish off that rotten apple just because it looked good on one part, and they'll walk through that beautiful apple orchard and look down on the ground again and grab another one because it looked good on one side, turned it over, there were worms, ants, and dirt, and they ate it again. And then they wonder why in South America they keep getting got, why they keep being a lick, in other words, because they're not taking the time out to take a deep breath. I'm here in South America. I see all these beautiful trees. Let me start picking from the trees and stop doing what's easy and picking up off the ground. That's what men do when they come here. They pick women up that are on the ground.
On the ground, right.
On one side, just like an apple. I know when I was a kid, I used to pick apples, in Michigan. And sometimes you want to be lazy and pick up an apple off the ground, and you pick it up, and all of a sudden you see bees on the other side of it. You see ants, you see worms. But when it's facing you, it looks beautiful until you pick it up off the ground. But the problem is a lot of guys don't care. They don't care, and they continue to eat apples off the ground inside of a gorgeous apple orchard.
Hold tight. Let me close this door. Hold tight, Dre. Hold tight. Master Yoda said you must unlearn what you've learned, and these kind of shows are paramount and essential to helping men unlearn what they have learned. What are some of the things that you see, Dre, that you've seen? And I know you've talked about it several times on your show, but to the people on my show that haven't heard it, what are 3 to 5 major things? I mean, before I ask you that question, do you have any more questions for me from a psychological perspective that you want to ask me?
You know what? Let's go with your questions because since they're fresh on your mind, the question that you're about to ask, and then I'll ask mine.
Okay. What are 3 to 5 things that you've seen in Colombia that this irks you, man? And I know you talk about men overspending and all that goofy stuff, but as far as interaction, as far as this anything that you haven't already talked about that you've seen that causes you to cringe every time you see it?
So one of the things that cringes me is how disappointed I am and how insecure Black men about being Black in countries where Black people exist. I'll tell you what I mean by that. I get more questions about, and I see this all the time. Do women like Black men in UK? Do women like Black men in Thailand? Do women like we all know the answer to it. We've heard it 100 times. Everybody in the world wants a Black guy, especially if you're African American. But yet we still, because of insecurities, do women want Black men in Colombia? Do women do women want Black men in Brazil? Anytime you have to make that statement in Black countries, that goes to show how insecure you are. So that's one of them that just gets that irks me. I'm tired of Black men being so insecure about who they are. I understand what's happened to us in the States, but once again, once you cross the threshold into other countries, you will no longer treat it like that. So therefore, stop pretending like you expect that to take place. Number 2 is, yes, the overspending. We overspend because we are overcompensating. I don't know why we do that. We are going into countries where our dollars are a bang for our buck culture. And at the end of the day, you still will see a guy go through $2,000, $3,000 in 5 days. And I wonder, how do you go through $3,000 in 5 days when the average Colombian is only making $250 in 30 days?
What does that look like?
in regards to
blowing through money. I know some would say tricking, but
you know what? It may be from every. I don't know. You know what? I want to tell you the truth. Other than the tricking part, I don't know how you can blow that much money. And this is the part. There's two forms of tricking. It is the tricking when it comes to plural and singular. Some dudes, I know one guy called me. He wanted to borrow $500, kosher, because he met a woman down here, had such a great time, was spoiling the woman's family, taking them all out to dinner and just living the life of Riley. Took them to a city, a small town in another part of Colombia, sponsored everything, came back and was running out of money and felt like if I didn't have any more money to showcase the girl, she was going to leave me.
Right,
that's a form of tricking.
Yeah, that's
just like the plural form of tricking, where you see the guys go for the pay for play. So it's not just guys that are going out there with the party girls. Some guys are so busy trying to impress a nice girl that you could have impressed with that too. You could have actually impressed with $250. They think that I'm so happy because I met this girl. I got to impress her family. I got to impress her friends. You see where I'm going with that, culture? When this person never even asked you for that, and never expected that, and guys come down here and do that. So when I say tricking, I don't just mean just, you going out there partying. You may have never hit one club, not one pay for play, but met one person who didn't even ask you to spend that money, and you're just blowing it. And this dude was so busy trying to impress this young lady, he ran out of money. And then when he ran out of money, he feared, this is the part that got it, coach. He feared that she would leave him if he could no longer sponsor on that level.
Yeah. He's leading with his wallet.
She never asked him to do that in the first place.
Right. Not only is he leading with his wallet, it's very unattractive, and it makes him come off as desperate. And I see so many men, Dre, when they get into relationships, they don't lead with power. They lead with money and their wallets, and they lead with overcompensating, which in essence makes them a target for being a lick. And if that woman is predatory, she's going to lick you. And you're going to be sitting back looking like an idiot because you don't know how to love yourself. And that's why I think it's so important for men to uncover so that they can recover, so that they don't become a victim of she-covery, which is a veneer that has been plastered over their mind, which more or less impedes them from making good choices based on the schemas and the negative socializations they've been more or less identified with in the past. And that's why, Dre, I thought this show was so powerful and so important. And because I don't want to see men lose, I want to see them win. But not only that, I don't want to see them lose their lives, because you could lose your life, and we're gonna get into that in a minute as well. But any more questions you want to ask me? I
was about to ask you, because I want to go into the directions segment or suggestions. Any suggestions that you might have while a guy is still in the States? You've traveled. While a guy is still in the States, do you have at least 2 or 3 suggestions for him to start the process of she-covery? In other words, recovering past the stage of overcompensating while he's in the States.
Excellent question. So from a clinical perspective, there's a such thing called cognitive restructuring. That's a byproduct of CBT. There are many other treatment models and interventions. Many times when you and I have done shows, we talked about the psychoanalytic model by Dr. William Glasser, which more or less posits that men stand in power, or more or less need power, fun, freedom, belonging, and survival. I would solicit, Dre, that they stand in power. One of the ways you stand in power is using a concept called a thought-stopping technique. That's a byproduct of cognitive restructuring. And it basically is synonymous, Dre, to what Christians use. They use a little band, and they put it on their arm, Dre, and this is very practical, and it works. Anytime you feel like you're about to simp, you get a strong, hard rubber band, and you pull it, and you snap yourself back into reality. And then you ask yourself the question, what would she do? What would she do? If you think that she's about to do the same thing that you're trying to do for her, then if she's not going to do it, then you don't do it. What would she do? Do you see my point, Dre?
Correct.
And what it does, Dre, it forces you to remodify that maladaptive process that's going on in your head. It forces you to modify that, because if you don't modify that maladaptive schema, I'm not good enough. She's going to leave me. She doesn't want me. I'm not, I got to perform. Then you're giving off simp energy. And as I said before in the past, like Frederick Douglass said, the power never conceded to anything without a struggle. It never have and it never will. So you should go in Colombia standing in power. But there's a recovery process that you got to do. Secondly, Dre, I would say is for them to journal write and to more or less write down all the bad relationships that they've had and ask themselves the question in those said relationships, what were some of the things that they did that sabotaged that relationship? And then once they find that out, the third thing they would need to do, Dre, is to remodify or re-identify what their value system is. And once they remodify and or re-identify what their value system is, Dre, then they need to create what's called boundaries. I value respect, therefore here are my boundaries. I value masculinity, therefore here are my boundaries. I value financial responsibility, therefore here are my values. And you just stand on it. And the more you stand on it, what you do, you begin to refortify the mental faculties of your mind, which in essence will not make you become a slave to those things, Dre, that have caused you to be subjugated in prior relationships. Masculinity is similar to what the gospel say in the book of Peter. It comes from the word root of the Greek in Peter is Petra. It means rock.
It means rock.
The great teacher and the preacher Jesus said, and the teacher and what I believe was the Messiah, he said this, he said it better than me. He said it to Peter. He said, thou art Peter, and upon this rock you should build your church, and the very gates of hell won't prevail against it. Well, men need to have that same mindset, Dre, when it comes down to dealing with women. Heaven and earth will pass away, but my principles as a man will never supersede your beauty. That's why I tell men, Dre, to never fall in love. And I know it's hard when you're around a beautiful woman with curvy hips and a nice waist, and she's cooking for you, something you've never experienced in America. She's giving you sex, she's, washing your clothes, and she's just doing something, Dre, that is normal in their country. That's just what
Correct.
they do. You don't reward her for normal behavior. What you do reward her for is consistency. And whenever she does some extraneous outside that which is normal, that's when you reward her. Because see, many times the behavior modification, Dre, the target reinforcer becomes very, very weak. So say for an example, say when you met your wife, you took her to a very expensive restaurant in Colombia. So now she's gonna be expecting going to high-end restaurants versus if you just cooked her a meal for good behavior, then you made her slowly earn it, then you're reconditioning her instead of her reconditioning you. What happens many times, the women recondition the men. And it's okay if you make mistakes. I think all men have made mistakes. But you have to own what you've done, because there is no denial in therapy. Once you own what you've done, then you start refortifying your mental faculties with new values and new principles, and you just walk in it. And when you feel tempted to simp, you get that rubber band. And you pull it real hard. What would she do?
Right.
And if she's not going to do what you're doing, then you just don't do it. If she say, "Oh, you don't love me," well, bye. Listen. At the end of the day, she's just a woman. It ain't nothing special about her. She go to the bathroom just like you go to the bathroom. She defecates. She get musty and smell. She poops and urinate, and she gonna die just like you gonna die. She's a human being. Ain't nothing special about her. She's pretty, but okay, so what? Because see, you got to be the guy that stands out outside the rest. There's so many simps here in America, man. So much over-identification with the feminine that it repels women. Women don't like that. They know they're pretty. You be the standout guy. You be the guy that's not constantly in her DMs. You just treat her like a woman. And so what that makes her do is chase your validation as a man. Once she chases your validation, now she's deferring to your power instead of you deferring to her power, which is beauty, which in essence is fleeting. Her beauty is fleeting. But your power and position as a man accumulates year after year. Dre, you're better now at your age now than you were in your 20s. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Correct.
Because your value is increasing. Your value is increasing. My value has increased exponentially. I'm more ready for the mission of I was a single man now than I was in my 20s. I'm not mesmerized by beautiful women. People say, "Oh, we all let these women in men's space away." Yeah, they come in, but they're not going to compromise my mission. I don't care how pretty you are, because see, eventually you're going to show your true self. Because put you to the fire. You. Oh yeah, you're not gonna lick me. I'm gonna study to pray, Dre. and I'm going to destroy the prey. They're not going to destroy me. Because, see, eventually, Dre, they will tell on themselves. They can't. See, Teddy Pendergrass said, you can't hide from yourself. That's what Teddy said.
That's right.
And eventually, Dre, they're going to tell on themselves because they were never genuine in the first place. They were never genuine. So eventually, that veneer that they've more or less personified is going to eventually fall off, and then you're going to see them for what they really are. That's why you got to put her through the fire. You got to put her through tests. You got to make her earn that relationship because you are the captain of that ship. She's just along board, helping you as you navigate the ship. I know some people, Dre, believe in partners. I don't believe in partners. I believe that she was made for you. I believe that God made you the master keeper. And your job is to love her, protect her, die for her. Her job is to assist you in your mission. Her job is to assist you with becoming the better version of yourself. And just like the gospel say, if I be lifted up, I'll draw all men unto me. If you be lifted up as a man, then you're going to make sure she's well taken care of. Women don't understand this thing. It's really simple. It's a pure symbiotic relationship. Take care of me, I'll take care of you. Honor me, I'll love you. Do Eros love. Honor me, I'll die for you. Honor me, I'll provide for you. And it's dual reciprocity where both benefit. I'm sorry, go ahead, brother.
Oh, no, absolutely correct. I like when you said, what would she do? And that's in two parts.
Mm-hmm.
The first one is, as you said, excuse me, if she is not willing to do for you the equivalence or even more than what you are willing to do for her, that's a sign to step away.
Step away. Yes,
also,
sir.
What would she do if I wasn't here?
Mm-hmm.
What would she do to handle this situation? What would she do to rectify situations? How does she handle problematic situations in her life? That shows that she's a quality person too. Can she handle challenges?
Right.
Can she handle, the everyday ups and downs of life? If she can't, that's another sign. So when you say what would she do is also what would she do if you're there, but what would she do even if you weren't there? As far as standing strong, standing on her morals. The other thing that I really like that you said was to build, write down at least some, you said all, but at least write down some of the relationships you had and that why they ended.
Yes,
Find out what you had to do that had to deal with that ending. And then also remember the fact that now you can build standards, or you can build some type of standards in regards to how you would like somebody to treat you and respect you. Those borders, like I often say, if I could get more men to learn the art of no when it comes to women, we would change how women behave, especially in our community, for to the end of time. Once you have standards as a man and you say, no, I don't accept that red color hair. No, I don't accept this particular type of behavior. Because the irony of it is, if you take a sister, no offense to our sisters, but if you take a sister and let her date another man from another country, they have their standards or their no's established. And the women know that if they're going to be in a relationship with an Asian dude or a Latin dude or with a white guy, a lot of what is accepted by a black male, your peer, is not accepted by the white guy. So they tame off because they run into that art of no, that the white guy has already established their standards, their wall, their barriers, their borders. So it is with the Asian guy. But us as black men, we have there is no standard. And that's where I understand where you're coming from in regards to one of the ways that guys can recover from this or go through she-covery is to establish a standard, because every other man in the world has a standard. He has an art of no. He has something that he's not going to let a woman, no matter who she is, go past. Only black men are the ones, especially in the United States, are the only ones that have no standards. I want my women run amok in our communities, and everybody else is looking at us laughing and just shaking their heads and saying, if she was with me, she wouldn't have never done that.
Right. And you know, the crazy thing is, Dre, is this. There was a time black men had standards. It seemed like after you and I came out of high school, damn, it just went downhill after the 90s, man. I remember a time we didn't look at women that had kids. You had kids, we just didn't look at you. You know, you don't mean you're not a bad person, but we just didn't look at you. I know I didn't look at you. You know, you could have been a nice person, but you can't be my woman. If you were ran through, we didn't look at you. Because see, that's the generation we were from. They would say, well, how would you know? Well, listen, it's ways you can know. And if you really want to get serious about it, it might seem extreme, but make her go do comprehensive DNA, not comprehensive DNA, a comprehensive polygraph assessment, if that's something that's important to you. Because you and I both grew up in church. Chastity was extremely important. We know ain't nothing new under the sun. Folks been getting it in for years. We understand that. But there was a time men had standards. But now you see guys wifing up chicks that are 304s, you know, got 6, 7 kids by different men, you know, hair color look like fools. And, you know, and they'll marry them, you know, gladly be the cleanup man. And, you know, but on the flip side, you know, women, their standards have not reduced. They keep raising the bar for what they want in men. You got to be 6 feet, you know, you got to have 6 inches, you know, above, over 6 inches, you know, you got to have a 6-pack, you got to make 6 figures and all this goofy ish. But you know, but you're not worthy of that type of man. You're below average as a woman. And I just remember the time when men had standards. And in Colombia, you know, the Colombian men have standards. Let's talk about some of the standards that you see in machista or machismo culture, Dre, that men can use when they come to Colombia.
One of the things that I see here in Colombia, and I'm glad that you mentioned that, is gender roles. Gender roles are extremely defined by men in Colombia. A woman is comfortable with her feminine, her girly, her even if she's a successful woman, her girly-ish, her woman-ish behavior. The only time you see a woman that's not walking in her femininity, she's LGBTQ. And so we understand that. But for the most part, the everyday woman, men make sure that women still walk in their gender role. Men take care of they're happy with being a man. In the United States, we love our manhood that we were born with, but these guys use manhood as a tool, as a weapon, letting them know that it is my place to provide. It is my place to protect. It is my place to establish the direction in which the family is going to go. A woman can come with suggestions. Yes, she can come with ideas. Yes, she can come and be a helpmeet. But here, the role of the responsibility still falls on the man, even if it's a boyfriend. It doesn't even have to be a husband. He could be the boyfriend, and they know. Another thing that I sit back and I see that's kind of that I see in other countries too, that I don't see in the United States, that when men are walking, a lot of times you see the women walk 2-3 paces behind. Now you still see a lot of couples like me and Andre walking and holding hands and things like that, but it is very, very common to see the man being a leader, being ahead. In other words, looking at the terrain in the community. Should we walk down this street or that street, or making sure that the woman and the kids are protected? He's not walking ahead like I'm the master, I'm the leader. He's walking ahead because he's like, it is my job to know the terrain that we're going into before my family walk or my girlfriend walks.
He got his head on the swivel.
Yeah. So that's another thing that I see that doesn't happen often in the United States. You won't see that. And if you do see that, you'll hear every feminist and every woman and every male feminist having something to say about a woman actually walking a couple of paces behind her man, not understanding the concept behind it. Another thing that I see down here in South America is men being comfortable with letting the woman be the woman. Now, I said that before in regards to men being comfortable with being manhood, walking in manhood. But one of the signs of them being comfortable with walking in manhood is being comfortable with letting a woman be the woman. There are some things that men know that they can't do. We don't have that nurturing mindset automatically. We don't have the emotional skills all the time that women have. Women have the ability to think with both sides of their brains at the same time, to where men, for the most part, are one side at a time. Men compartmentalize I hope I pronounce it right, put everything in compartments to whereas women could think with and put things in different sections or think in general. So
Right.
these men know, let my woman be a woman. I don't need her to think manly. I don't need her to talk masculinely. I don't need her to raise her voice. I don't need her to be I'm every woman. I need her to be the part that I can't be. I'm not the nurturing part of the relationship. That's her. So they have no problem with the woman walking in her feminine ways, but also walking in the skills in which she was born with. I
Right.
often see that here in South America. That's why guys are so amazed here in South America. Also, another thing that takes place in South America, let me let this will be the last one,
Yes, sir.
because I got a question for you. Also, in which you may have noticed in South America, the traditions still hold strong for the family.
Yes.
Men have no problem whether they with a boyfriend, whether it's a girlfriend boyfriend situation or a marriage situation, respecting the unit that they have, and it may be just a teenage boy and a teenage girl, or a 20-year-old man and his or 25-year-old man, his 25-year-old girlfriend, or whatever age it may be. They all have one thing in common: they respect the dynamic of the relationship as if it was a family. If they're a serious couple, they treat it as if they're a family, even if they don't have any
Right.
kids. They're
Right.
serious about each other. They
serious, right.
respect the family dynamic. He's not going to go in there and say, well, you know what, from now on, I'm going to be doing 99% of the cooking. That's not going to take place in Colombia. She's going to walk in the family dynamic as a girlfriend just as much as she's going to walk in it as a wife. The Bible says,
Right.
he that findeth a wife has
right.
found a good thing.
A good thing. I
means
like that. I like that. I
person
see your
was
point.
already a wife and had wifey qualities
Yes, sir.
before he
Right.
found her. It didn't
Right.
say he that maketh a woman a wife has found a good thing. No,
Right.
he says you come across a woman, she has these qualities, she has these standards, and they gel with yours, and you found a good thing.
And see, these silly women in America don't understand. They say, "Oh, those are wife duties."
Yeah,
cooking a man a meal is wife duties. But what they don't understand is that their grandma, when she was trying to get a man because she was quote unquote a pick me, your grandma Gertrude and Rosa May and Sally Mae and Bessie Mae and Aunt Beulah, they would cook those men pies, might even fold his clothes because they were vetting. They were soliciting that man for the potential of getting the ring. But see, these women think that doing basic things like that, which is just really forms of altruism, because on the flip side, suppose that man say, well, I don't take women out and pay for meals. Those are husband duties. I don't pump gas and change your oil and close, open the door. Those are husband duties. If somebody go upside your head while we're on the outside, I don't get in those fights. Those are husband duties. You see my point?
Correct.
But you can't even, you think it makes you make it beneath you to cook. And see, Dre, you remember when we was calling them in the 90s, women were I didn't do a lot of dating because I was in church, but from what I've been heard, that women would cook the guys' meals. They would cook the boyfriend's meals,
even in the 90s. Yeah.
Right? Am I right? They would cook them meals like it wasn't no big deal. I don't know where this mess got when they said cooking makes them a slave. It was just part of life, like washing your clothes, cleaning your butt, taking a bath.
But we have to realize this, starting from the late 60s all the way until it came into its true fruition in the 2000s. White women could not succeed with the feminist movement without more help, more assistance. Where did they get that help from? Two units of people, the LGBTQ and Black women. So they told Black women, you are part of this. What we're fighting for is for you. So stop cooking, stop cleaning, go get jobs, go get careers, go get education. You're going to be a better woman because you're going to have just as much money as a man. So the Black women fell for it. LGBTQ co-signed it. That's right, girl. Be the best woman that you could be. And so with that co-signing and now leaving the family stranded. In other words, when I say family, the Black woman abandoned motherhood with the children that she even had.
Yes.
Also abandoned the husbands and the boyfriends that they had. Now you can tell a lot of Black women say, I go to work for my child, but then if you watch the like the movie that you were just in A Frustrated 3, where the
Frustrated 3,
one
right.
woman said, I came home from my career and discovered that my child was talking. She was still thinking that she had just had the child about a year ago or a few months ago, and not realizing that she was so focused on her career that when she came home, the nanny told her, yeah, your son's been talking for months. What are you talking about?
Mm-hmm.
She couldn't even believe the fact that she had abandoned her child in the name of making money.
Right.
So it does happen. It definitely does happen. And so it's sad in regards to how it's played out now. It's coming to its full fruition right now, where you can't tell black women nothing. Body positivity. There was a time. This is just the crazy part, culture.
Mm-hmm.
When in the 90s, when all the white women were and all the women were trying to look like Angelina Jolie, and they're dying because they're trying to throw up every morsel of food that they eat. Remember all that? Everybody wanted to be bone skinny, and all these white girls dying left and right. But now, with the big women, it's body positivity. It's everybody's equal. Nobody can judge. Even if a woman, it's gotten to the point where you got women that actually can be in a room full of women and will sit back and say, well, everybody, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. You've never heard a man say that. A man has never said handsome is in the eye of the beholder. We know what it is, and we accept it for what it is. There's some attractive dudes. There's some unattractive dudes. There's some tall dudes. There's some short dudes. It is what it is. But a woman, most women will not dare accept the fact of these modern day women, at least, not all women, would not dare accept the fact that not all women are created equal and that there are unattractive women just like there are attractive women. And so because of this mindset, when these guys come to South America, they are so mesmerized with the lady and feminine behavior of these women.
Right.
Which is just like you said earlier, it's just their tradition. It's just how they're raised. They would act like that if you wouldn't. Let's put it like this to let guys know this. The women that cook for us when we get off these planes, if you wouldn't have got off that plane, she still would have been cooking. She's not doing anything phenomenal for you.
Right.
She's not. Wasn't doing long before you bought your first plane ticket, long before you got your passport. And I think a lot of men make that mistake. But the question that I have for you, Culture, in regards to this, and let's go back to the United States regarding this. Do you think that there will be a time where guys actually, or do you see the signs of guys actually going through she-covery? They're finally starting to realize that I don't have to overcompensate. Or do you still see men, with only talk about the States, do you still see men predominantly still overcompensating with the way that we act, we dress, we behave? And it's unnecessary, because if you go to a city like Atlanta and you got almost 15, 16, 20 to 1, you'd swear it was the opposite. Because men overcompensate so much in certain locations and try to pull up their peacock feathers so much, you wouldn't swear that they had 20 women to 1. So do you think that men will actually change? That's the question.
I think it's a mixed bag, Dre. I think the conversation is getting better, but I do think it's a mixed bag. I think these conversations are important because you are beginning to see men that are realizing what their inherent worth is, their value, and that they don't have to more or less denigrate themselves for the affection of a woman. But then, Dre, we have stories about, the Raekwon passport guy, or the Day or the passport Pookie, whatever you want to call it, messing up the ecosystem, and causing a lot of shame and harm, and more or less accosting the men that are trying to do the right thing. And so I think it's a mixed bag. I think there is a segment that are beginning to see their worth, but sadly, there's still some, because I see it sometimes, Dre, when they come in the comment section, she can be a woman content creator. And they say, "Oh, you're pretty," or I'm like, dude, it ain't that serious, man. Stop giving women your power, man. I've had pretty women or attractive women come on my channel, but I don't care about that. You can be pretty all you want to, but you still can get this work. I don't care about you being pretty. I think once you travel abroad, man, you see so many fine women that most women in America will be average to a lot of foreign women. What's your take on that?
I agree with you 100% in regards to that.
Right.
That most American women are either, when it comes to just the physical part,
just the physical
when
part.
When you live in a country where you have 70% of women in one form of obesity or another, that let's just talk about that. Let's not even talk about features and so forth, or complexions or race. When you live in a country where 70% of the women fall up under the category of obesity in one level or another,
right?
And you send any woman from the United States, doesn't matter what race, no matter what creed, just the average woman from the United States will blend in, never to be seen again, never to be noticed again.
Right.
A lot of times women go to locations such as Portugal. Black women go to Portugal in droves because they stand out. Because if they went to South America, there is no way in the world they would dare stand out among the beautiful South American Afro-Colombians, Afro-Brazilians, Afro-Venezuelans, Afro-Ecuadorians. There's nothing about African-American women that stands out in the grand scheme of the world. You can, let's put it like this. You couldn't take the average, and this is not a put down. This is just a fact, ladies. You couldn't take a woman from a 70% obese country and land her in most countries on the continent of Africa and tell her that she stands out.
Right.
You don't stand out. You only stand out in a little micro location known as the United States of America. It is a country, not a continent. It is a country, it is not a planet. Right. And most of the world is not defined by women that are 70% obese. So when I sit back and I see guys demoralize themselves by overcompensating with our cars, with our, now that I've traveled, seeing us overcompensating with our cars and our behavior and our clothing and our whatever it may be and our money. Look at me, I'm balling and I want the top shelf this. And you overcompensating for that? That in the United States, 70% obesity? It just saddens me. And what I would want to say is this: I don't see a change coming anytime too soon, Culture. And the only reason I say that is because statistically, 72% of Americans will never, ever leave the comfort of their own city. 72% of all Americans that were born in that particular city still live either in that city or on the outskirts of that city. They've never moved. 72% of Americans have never lived in any other place but the place where they were born. Least long talking about getting a passport. Least long, let's put in just the statistics of Black people or minorities that have not traveled and have not moved out of their neighborhood. So when I sit back and I put that dynamic together, Coach, we individuals such as yourself and myself, we are a very, very small group. Even the passport brothers that are celebrating Passport Bros Unite, we are so minute over the grand scheme of things in the United States.
That's true. You're
Our impact is not as prevalent as we actually think it is.
No, you're right. But sometimes it takes that one match to start a bonfire.
Absolutely, and I agree with that. I concur.
Right, and people say, well, they don't want. Listen, if you took a caravan to say 100,000 men and took them abroad and let them travel, I'm going to say with at least 95% accuracy, or maybe 90. I'll say 90 on the conservative side, 95 on the liberal side, where the women are fine, fit, beautiful, respectful. I promise you, they will not want to come back to America and deal with American Western.
And I say the opposite. I promise you that they do, because they've already done it with the 100,000 men. The military. Most military men go back to the United States that have been out the United States for 3, 2, 4 years. They've been to Italy. They've been to Germany. They've been on leave. They've been to Africa. They've been to London. They've been all over Southeast Asia. Many of them were based in the Philippines. Many military guys over 100,000. Let's just use 100,000 military guys from every walk, race, color, or creed in the United States have had, at least for the most part, had the opportunity to spend a substantial time around women in other countries. And what happens? They scamper back to the United States, put their heads down as if they've never been anywhere before, and they die once again being part of the 72% of men that actually will never live in any other place but the location in which they were actually born. Every single one of them. So that experiment has already been done by our U.S. military.
So
It's
you don't
sad,
think,
but true.
you're saying that they're not getting abroad, or they will be conditioned to stay because they're conditioned?
Actually after going abroad, all those years, all those opportunities, seeing all those feminine women from different walks of life, from different cultures, they still, once their service in the military is over, they may travel here and there to those locations, but they still scamper back to the United States where they feel like they belong. They feel like because I serve this country, I have to be in this country, not realizing that there are provinces that are part of the United States that are not part of the main part of the United States. In other words, listen, you could be in the Philippines, you're still part of the province known as the United States. You could be in some of these Caribbean islands and still be in a province of the United States. So when people sit back, you could be in Guam and still technically be in the United States, just like you could be in Puerto Rico. But that's not what we do. We don't go back to the Guams. We don't go back to the Philippines. We don't go back to the Caribbean islands. What we do, we scamper back to those 50 states. We keep our head down. We make a few little dollars. We get our military pension, and we pretend like we never saw all that beautiful femininity in all those other countries when we were serving in the military all those years. Now, is everybody like that? Of course not. There are a lot of military guys. We got a lot of ex-military guys that live here. But for the most part, we just talk about by experiment of 100,000 men. I'm telling you, you might get 5,000 to live outside the United States. You might get 5,000. But most of them, they're going to run back to the United States, put their head down, and wait for the 4th of July.
So you think they've been conditioned to be slaves for so
long? No, I'm not thinking. I'm going by the statistics of what they've already done. See, this is not Andre's opinion. Gotcha. You see where I'm going with that? That's why I use the military as an example of the example that you were using. Because as you were using it, they took 100,000 men. I was like, wait a minute, they've already done that. It's called the military.
Hey, Dre, hold on. Dre, hold on. Hold on. I don't know if my computer's messing up. Is your internet messing up? We keep dropping.
No, yours somewhat skips, but mine is fine.
You're not having it? Yours is fine. Okay, hold tight.
And I'm gonna end up chopping it up and alleviate the skipping part anyway.
I apologize, man. Kids.
Oh no. As I was
trying to
saying,
stream while I'm streaming, man.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead, brother.
What I was saying is, either way, I'm going to be chopping it up and alleviating any of the parts that were skipping anyway. So when I show the videos, it's going to be a smooth transition.
Okay, cool. Yeah. My for some reason, man, when I stream, my kids want to stream, and it slows my stream up, and then it drops, and I got a Nighthawk, but I don't know. I'm gonna have to get a bigger one.
Yeah, that's what I have. I have the portable Nighthawk.
Oh, you got the portable? How much you pay for yours?
I paid like $250 on Amazon. $250 on Amazon.
Yeah, the one. Okay. Yeah, the one I got is like two. I think I paid like $270 for it.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I might have to get a bigger one, but it's irritating. But I want to show you something, Dre. Do you have any more questions before I want to show you something real quick?
Oh, that's
I know
just about it right now in regards to this portion of our topic of our show.
Okay, all right. I want to show you something, Dre. Let's break this down. Tell me what you think. And what you think about the show called Googly Eyes, man? What you think about that?
That was pretty good, man. That was pretty good. I have to admit that I like that one, and I also watched the episode when you were interviewing Courtney Michelle. I saw that one.
Right.
But the googly eyes, yeah.
Let's look at this real quick.
Title
Dre,
alone. Just the title alone
Googly
itself is an eye catcher, you know.
Yeah, they got googly eyes. Hold on a minute. Let's look at this real quick about this expat man that lost his life. We're gonna break it down.
Responsibility.
Shout out to my man DC Rob.
The death of another American citizen
DC Rob.
in Medellin, Colombia. Some of you may call him friend. Follow along.
You're watching DC-born Rob, erasing borders. And now, the news.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever it is you're located. Thanks for watching. My name is Rob Christian, also known as DC-born Rob, DC Rob. Rob, I answer to them all. Again, I have the responsibility to announce the death of another American citizen. Earlier today, I had one of our viewers, Terrence. You've seen him in some of my videos. I consider Terrence a friend. And I'm not sure if I met the deceased before. I believe I did. Happy guy, if this is who I'm thinking this is. Anyway, I want to share a picture of Terrence and the since passed on Nick. He was a friend to a lot of people in Medellin, Colombia, and a straight up good guy. This is sad news to have to pass on today. Here's a picture again of Terrence and Nick. And again, Terrence, my condolences. They were getting ready to hang out in a couple of days when he comes back down, and many people knew him. So let's just jump into a couple of stories. Okay, both of these stories are.
So, Drake, what do you say to your detractors and your critics that might say, "Oh, see, these passport bros are getting killed, and you just need to stay in America," and they'll take one or two isolated incidents and denigrate the whole movement.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one too. Mm-hmm. Well, the incident, let's put it like this: he was the same age as Kevin. Who's 57 years old. I'm 55. Right. I have no problem realizing that I'm in the family of AARP. I have no problem with acknowledging that. I might be going to the gym and exercise and being fit, but I realize that there are things that goes on within my body that I have to be careful with because I don't want any mistakes to take place as far as my health. So it is with any one of us. So when I sit back and I say that this gentleman, it could have just been a situation of him just being an older gentleman and passing on. Now, that's still kind of young, 57 years old, passing on, but it's not unheard of. So when a lot of people sit back and say, well, there was foul play, well, we don't know that quite yet. So let's let the chips fall and find out what's going to go on before we sit back and we make the mistake and say that foul play was at hand. But also, because so much foul play has taken place in Medellin, Colombia, I'm not questioning the fact that people are saying, could this have been something that took place? Because he passed on, he'd already admitted to a few friends over the years that he had been drugged and robbed a couple times.
Right.
So we don't know if it was an incident of him just passing on, it was his time, or was it an incident where foul play took place? But either way, I'm trying not to, put out false information in regards to the death of this gentleman, because it could have just been that he passed on due to his age and his health. Right.
We're going to talk about some practical things that men can do. Hold tight. I think I lost that. It actually kicked off the stream for some reason. Hold tight, Dre. Let me finish looking at this real quick. Hold on. I know you got to go.
Yeah, it was definitely a situation that's sad because so many people knew him. Mm-hmm. And for example, when it's time for me to graduate, when it's my day of graduation, mm-hmm. people will sit back and say, man, wow, Andre from Love Crossing Borders passed on. He graduated.
Right.
There'll be a lot of people that say that they knew me as well. Mm-hmm. So to sit back and find that kind of like puzzling, I really don't, because it could easily have been me in that scenario at 57 in a few years, and people saying we all knew him or many of us knew him. So it doesn't necessarily mean, like I was mentioned before, that foul play took place. But it being in Medellin and him having a track record doesn't necessarily alleviate foul play, and that's why they're doing the investigation.
Right. Well, some practical things that men can look into, Dre, when they travel abroad and go to concourses like Medellin and Cartagena. What are some practical things they can do to help minimize or
like I
alleviate?
often say, let your first day of googly eyes take place. Just have all the eye candy you want. Just, oh my goodness, all the things that you're gonna tell yourself when you come to South America. Look at her, but do not partake on the first day. Now I understand some of you dudes, the thirsty guys, nobody can tell you nothing. And like I said, it's not our place to tell a grown man what to do with his money and his time or his energy.
Right.
But we're making suggestions. We're just putting this together as suggestions. Your first day, sit your butt down somewhere and just enjoy the sights. The sights of the buildings, the sights of the new foods, the sights of the fact that your money is going so much further, as well as the sights of the beautiful ladies in the malls and all the other things that you're going to see when you come to South America. So just let your first day, just take it all in. Don't rush. Number two thing is, is this a woman that you could do more things in the daytime than you do at night? If this is a woman that you met at night, hang out with at night, all y'all do is night stuff, you might want to check yourself. See, in Colombia, pluralism is not something that's common. So when you sit back and you've got the female said, I want to, let's put it like this. Women in South America, especially Colombian, are extremely jealous women. You ain't gonna get no two just on GP, bruh. Not coming to hang out with you. So if you got two women willing to come and hang out with you, if you're paid for play, I understand. You're paying for two women. But if you're thinking that two women just gonna come to the club from the club, stumbling from the club, and go your way just because of you, either these are two unattractive women, which I've seen dudes do with 2 or 3 unattractive Colombian women, or if they are attractive women, they are in competition. They do not want to come together. So if you've got 2 attractive women want to be with you, you might want to think about that, because that might just be a setup.
I see your point. Right.
Yeah, Colombian women don't work like that. They don't move.
Right.
In Brazil, you know, that being with more than one is part of the makeup of the sexual life of Brazilians. Brazil's sex life is on a whole different level. God bless them. But on the other hand, Colombia is on a different level when it comes to their sex life also. And they don't do that pluralism. A regular, normal Colombian woman is not going to have her girlfriend, come on, girl, let's get him. It doesn't happen. They're very jealous women, and they are not going to share bears.
They're not going to share. Right.
Yeah.
Right. And that's a good thing for a man that's traditional and serious about getting a wife. Hold tight. This friend's looking at this straight, and then we're gonna bring it home, because I know you got something to do. Hold tight.
Short. The first one is from Minuto Trente. It's entitled, "They Find the Body of an American Inside a House in Bethlehem. For several days, tenants of the building felt a strange smell coming from the foreigner's apartment." It says the authorities began investigations for the discovery of a body in an advanced state of decomposition in Belen neighborhood, Medellin. After 6 p.m, uniformed officers were alerted by the discovery of a man's body inside a house. According to preliminary information, it would be an American, approximately 57 years old. Apparently, several days ago, the tenants of the building smelled a bad smell that came from the apartment of the alleged North American. And only today, when they went in to clean it, did they find the body. At this time, the Judicial Police of the Mobile Criminalistics Laboratory is in charge of urgent acts and judicial inspection of the corpse to be transferred to the local legal medicine morgue and determine the cause of death. Okay, this one was from Minuto Trente. Just so you know, it has been said that, or there are rumors, should I say that, until anything is official, there are rumors that he was drugged. Whether or not this is true, I cannot report that. I'm just passing on. It's a rumor. It is not mentioned in either of these stories. Okay, this next one is from El Colombiano. It's entitled American Who Was Missing Found Dead Inside a House in Bethlehem. His body was found in an advanced state of decomposition after he had been missing for a week. A strong odor coming from an apartment located on the 5th floor of a building in the Belén Los Alpes neighborhood warned of the death of the U.S. citizen who had been missing since last week. The discovery occurred around 5:15 in the afternoon this Monday on Calle 30 with Carrera 81 in the southwestern neighborhood of Medellin by the neighbors who saw him without vital signs on his bed. Realizing what had happened, they alerted the authorities. According to reports, Nicholas Vincent Flats, 56, had rented an apartment on September 22nd and lived alone. Since the middle of last week, they did not know anything about his whereabouts, nor did he answer the numbers that he had left as a contact, which generated surprise among the community. The causes of his death are unknown since the CTI agents of the prosecutor's office who attended the case found no apparent injuries on the body of this American, so his death remains to be unestablished. The victim was a native of the state of Springfield, Massachusetts, and would be linked to athletic activities. He was a frequent tourist in the city since on his social networks he had images of his visits in 2018 and 2021. He also traveled to Mexico and Brazil. According to reports from the Metropolitan Police, this year 27 foreigners have died in the Abura Valley, of which 27 have been in Medellin for various reasons. Nicholas Vincent Flats, 56, was a traditional visitor to Medellin. In addition to his arrival in September of this year, he had come to the city in 2018 and 2021. So there you go. Again, there's rumors about.
So, Dre, were these men messing up the ecosystem, in your opinion? And we're just speculating. We don't know. But what would you guesstimate? And we don't know. I don't want to accuse these men because I don't know. But your critics going to say, oh, see, they're over there tricking. And, that's why, and, some people take these little small incidents and blow it up and trying to make it seem like, they're killing American men. But what's your take on that, real quick? Unmute yourself.
Since I don't know the story or the situation of each one of these foreigners, and it sounds like they've come from different parts of the world, I like you don't want to put out any speculation on these guys.
Sure,
God bless the dead.
God bless
so
the dead,
I wouldn't want anybody to put out any speculations on me when I pass on, and so I don't want to put any out on any of these guys. Were they in a city that is known for certain elements and certain behaviors? Yes, but that doesn't necessarily mean the whole city is like that as well. Medellin is a beautiful city with some really nice, wonderful people. It's just that certain areas that you're in, if you cluster in those areas, statistics change for you. But as far as each one of these men, it's sad to sit back and say that 27 foreigners have passed on in this particular city. It is not coincidental. Let me put it like that. It is not a coincidence that 27 foreigners have passed on, and Cartagena gets as many tourists, and they don't have as many people passing on in Cartagena, and that's the beach town compared to Medellin.
Right, and that's why we're doing the show about sheet coverage, man, because it could be dangerous, and you have to ask yourself the question based on the thumbnail and that I'm going to show for the audience on tonight. Yes or no? How do you choose? Because you sound mind and a sound heart if you're going to travel abroad, because if you don't, it could cost you your life. When you hear about all these negative malfeasances, Dre, do you feel like it dampens the movement of the passport bros, or does it is this part of life in your opinion, and something that men do with this recalibrate and readjust?
It's one of those things that it's almost like a catch-22. If you say that it impacts the passport bros in a negative way, then you have to sit back and say, is the passport bros movement a positive movement? Well, we all know that it's a positive movement in regards to what guys are looking to accomplish. But in the midst of that, there are guys that are traveling that are not necessarily considered a passport bro or part of the movement. They just so happen to be guys that have from, like I say, many of them may be from foreign countries that know nothing about passport bros, nothing about the passport bro movement, and just so happen to get caught up in a scenario in which they never got out of. So it depends on, you know, I look at it like this. I don't look at it as if it impacts the passport bro movement in a negative way. Even if you have women in the United States using this as a catalyst or a tool to attack the passport bros, you know, this brother passed on. Now remember, like I just mentioned, this guy may have never heard of passport bros a day in his life, but women in the United States will use this as a tool. Not all, but some women in the United States will use this as a tool against the passport bros, even though they have anything in common except for being in the same city or the same country at one point in time or another.
I totally agree. We're gonna finish looking at this. I know you got to go, and then we're gonna end it because I know what time you got to go. You got to go in a few minutes, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's go knock this out, and then we're gonna let you go. Hold tight.
About him possibly being drugged. Supposedly, he had also even admitted that he had been drugged before. For all you guys who say, you know, you should move this way, move that way, and everybody has the answers after the fact. I'm telling you, anybody can get got. Anybody can get got. This was a veteran traveler.
Right.
A veteran traveler. So he's very familiar with all the hints, tips, and tricks. And he is one of those two who have passed on that information to some of you. So, guys, be careful when you go down there. I say still go. I'm going. I can't say not go. People are going to go regardless. All I can say, the same thing I say at the end of all my videos, be safe.
Be safe. I agree.
Oh, yeah.
Hold tight. All right. All right. So, Dre, what did you think about that, man? And you were in Colombia. What did you think about that? And overall,
like I always say that, and I'll say this to the end of days: Colombia is not Medellin. Medellin is not Colombia. Colombia is not Medellin. Medellin is not Colombia.
Right.
The Colombia that I see, the people that I see, the people that I'm around on a regular basis, I don't see that. I don't see that behavior. I don't put myself in certain elements. I'm not part of the underworld. Well, Andre, you can get got. Anybody can get got in any country. We already know this. But when it comes to the statistics or putting myself in the percentage position, I don't put myself in a position that anything could happen to me outside of me passing on due to just it was my time. I'm not saying that this gentleman did this. That's another thing that I want to make sure of. I'm not saying that this gentleman did this because we don't know what happened with this gentleman quite yet.
Right.
But at the end of the day, we do know this, that just because something happens in one city, that does not dictate what happens in a country. If it was true, if that was the case, then everything that happens in Southside Chicago dictates the United States. Everything that happens in Watts or LA dictates the United States. Everything that happens in St. Louis or the wildness that's taking place in Atlanta, well, that's all the United States, which we know is not true. So it is with Colombia. And that's why you always hear me say Medellin is not Colombia.
Right. No doubt. I totally agree. Well, listen, we're going to end it in a minute, man. It's been a great show.
Oh, yeah.
But what did you get from this show, and what did you learn from the whole concept of sheet covering, and why men must calibrate their mental faculties, Dre, and to stand in power as men? Because standing in power is paramount to masculinity.
Because one of the things that I noticed is masculinity, true masculinity, does not have to be overcompensated. You do not have to put up your peacock feather. If you notice anything about the male peacock, he doesn't always have to put up his feathers. A lot of times he's walking around with his feathers down, and you know that he's elegant and he has the ability to put those feathers up whenever he wants to. So a lot of times you'll see a male peacock, he's strutting, he's got his crown, but yet his feathers are down. He's just dragging them on the ground behind him. But he has the ability to strut, but he doesn't. He doesn't overcompensate. He doesn't open up his feathers for everybody that comes along. Every person or every being that comes along, he doesn't automatically just opens up his feathers to them. He only opens up his feathers to those that he deserves, that he believes deserves to see that type of behavior, or that not necessarily overcompensating, but that type of expression of his version of maleness, or if you would. My point is that we need to stop trying to showcase our feathers to every other female that comes along when it comes to coming into these countries. Right. You don't have to. I remember my first day here in Colombia, and a beautiful woman walked up to, we just happened to bump into each other. It's not that she walked up to me. I just happened to be walking one way. She was walking another way. She was like, "Hey, you want to go back down to the club area?" I was like, "You know what? My first day here, I'm tired. Let's exchange information, and we can link up tomorrow." She said, "You sure?" I said, "Yeah, I'm sure." Gorgeous sister, gorgeous. She said, "You sure?" I said, "Yeah, I'm sure." So we exchanged information, Facebook information, and Instagram information, and phone numbers. And I went my way. She went her way. My point in saying that is I knew the art of no before I got off the plane. Remember, I just said this was my first day in Colombia. Mm-hmm. It could have been easy for me to be mesmerized by this woman's beauty, because she was extremely gorgeous, sister, extremely beautiful. Right. And it was easy for me it was only a couple of paces. It wasn't like she would say, "Let's walk 10 blocks to a party." My Airbnb just so happened to be in the party area. So when she was saying, "You want to go back down and go to the club," or whatever it may be, it was only like 10, 15 steps away. But my art of no, or in other words, my not having to step out of who I was, my standard said, "Andre, your first day, you had a good time. You're tired from getting off that plane. Take your butt to bed." Mm-hmm. A lot of guys wouldn't do that. Right. As soon as a pretty woman walks up on them, they don't know the art of no, and then all of a sudden they're walking right back down to the club, knowing that they're exhausted. And then if you're exhausted, and you're drinking, and you've got a pretty woman in front of your face, that is an easy recipe that you don't know. That's an easy recipe for disaster. So one of the things that I've learned is don't overcompensate. It's not necessary. You have the ability to do it, but you don't have to do that. And that's one of the things that I hope that guys are taking away from this. Let me ask you this question.
Yes, sir. Go ahead, bro.
In conclusion, what is one of the things that you hope that guys take away, that our audience takes away from this conversation?
Well, as I said earlier, Dre, is to stand in power as men. Don't give your beauty, don't give your power over to a beautiful woman. That's what happened to Samson. He was mesmerized by the beauty and the seduction and the tantalization of Delilah's hips, her hair, and all of that. And there's nothing wrong with being mesmerized by a beautiful woman per se, but you can't let the mesmerization control you. You got to be in control. You got to be the master of your ship. And I know it's easier said than done. Especially for men that live in the West, that are used to average-looking women that are overweight, don't work out, they don't keep themselves looking good. But if you take these practical steps that have been implemented by Dre, because he's living in Colombia, but also by me as a licensed therapist, I think this is the beginning of you having not only a successful life, but more or less having a life that's been designated to you by divine protocol to stand in power as a man. So I would say, Dre, standing in power as a man, don't compromise your power, because women love it when men are masculine. It's part of their culture. And guys, what you don't understand, you cannot go to Dre's country being a simp. You got to have a level or some level of machismo. I'm not saying you got to be at the level of men in that country, but you got to be a man. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Absolutely correct. It's expected. Women expect you to walk in your manhood, not just with your wallet. But if you didn't have your wallet with you, can you showcase true masculinity, true manhood? Because they don't want to have they don't want a man that they have to be the one in charge. They need for you to showcase your manhood.
And just like Luther Vandross said, don't want to be a fool.
That's right.
And then on that note, man, we're going to sign off. Love you, brother. Share this show, man. Enjoy it with your people whenever you premiere it. You and your people can break it down. Guys, go check out Dre with Love Crossing Borders. He's killing the game. And Dre, your people, go check me out at thekosherclinician@gmail.com. You know, these collaborations are important. And to the people that are watching, Dre took a lot of time out of his show. Go check his channel out, donate to it, and donate to my channel. If you need a consultation around going to Colombia, go check out Dre and his wife, Andrea. He'll put you in the right position to not be a saboteur of your own ignorance. So, guys, if you want to donate to the channel on tonight, hit me at Cash App. $7 Smalls. That's $7 Smalls. And for a non-diagnostic consultation, hit me up at kosherclinician@gmail.com. That's kosherclinician@gmail.com. And Dre, on this note, hey, we ain't gonna stop the movement, man, for these young men that are looking for wives outside of America. We know only a few are going, but in the meantime, this is for the Passport Bros.
I'm tired of America, so I'm hitting Richie on the net. I got the tickets, that's a bet. We need the link, my brother set it up. Damn, I didn't had enough. Ooh, I won't lie. Can I get a little shake with them fries? My skin tone is matching your eyes. Black men, you know we like them thighs. And baby, she can do it all. Your land is my land. Cut through.
Yeah, save yourself, black man. That's the war cry. Because in these streets, but also in the confines of America, it doesn't appear that black men are getting the honor and respect that they deserve. So, Dre, on that note, man, I'm going to let you go, man. Love you, brother. Tell your beautiful wife I say hello, man. And I will be, if Lord willing, I'm coming to the Promised Land at some point next year. And we're going to do some live streaming from Cali. And we're going to kill the game there as well, man. So be well, brother. Take care of yourself. Tell your wife and say hello. All right?
I will.
Yes, sir. All right. Take care, brother. A powerful stream with Dre. Now, forgive me for the dropping. But, guys, we're about to sign off. Thank you, guys, for tuning in. And, guys, go subscribe to the channel. And guys, I'm gonna be leaving, all right? So I want you guys to go tune in and tune into the show. And don't be a saboteur of your own ignorance when you travel abroad, all right? So, guys, we are signing off. And once again, donate to the channel. Be well.
4 in the morning, you got me up, all cause you need to talk. To 4 in the evening, wanna break up, say that you've had enough. I'm tired of talking, again and again, argue about everything. You are my darling, let's kiss and make up, I know you wanna touch. You call me every night, call me every day, I just wanna get you alone now. Trust me when I say